Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Star Wars Alliance. Of course, I am your host, Clay, and today I am not joined by Katie. Of course, at this time, it technically would have only been Katie, but due to some unfortunate events that she will talk about later on when she does come back to the show, she will talk all about that. I am here a week early from my hiatus. Technically, that was broken like 3 days ago because technically I had an episode of Ranger Alliance that we
Yeah,
technically
we
recorded
recorded before.
before my hiatus. Then I came back for DC Alliance.
That's what really broke it.
And then I'm just like, you know what? Screw it. Like, maybe I just need 1 week of hibernation. But I am here with Joe, of course, my Ranger Alliance co-host, the
Howdy, y'all.
host of Walk Through the Multiverse. How you doing, Joe?
Not too shabby. I've got a week off of work. This is the week between Christmas and New Year. I was say Thanksgiving. New Year's Eve is or New Year's Day is just a week of shutdown. It's been nice. I've rearranged my basement. I've done a lot of online shopping, and I've been eating a lot of snacks that I really shouldn't be eating. So, yeah, it's been a fun week.
Nice. Very, very nice. Now, we do have very, very small news. And then we will, of course, hit the main event of the Book of Boba Fett, episode 1, that has dropped today. But before we do all of that, of course, we do have the GUA network. This is a show that is a part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance network. We have 8 shows, 7 days a week, on a bi-weekly schedule for some shows, that being Ranger Alliance, World's Finest True Believers. Then, of course, the next bi-weekly show is A Walk Through the Multiverse. And currently on a hiatus is Katie's Slice of Film, which does end up being on Sundays. She will come back to that, but currently just taking a small hiatus. Joe, I want to apologize to you personally because I have still not seen the last 3 episodes of Why the Last Man. And those 3 episodes have just been archived in my podcast feed. And I'm just like, I'll watch it. I'll watch it.
Watch it
Until
eventually,
then,
right?
I'm not going to listen to these episodes because I'm not going to get spoiled. Now, I have been listening to some other stuff that you have done previously. The Christmas episode was really, really nice. Some recommendations off of Christmas themed comic books, of
Yep.
course.
Those are fun to find and actually fun to read. So I'm hoping my explanations of them wasn't as terrible as I thought as I was recording it.
No, 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 no.
I mean,
I
you
think
know how
they
hard it is to record with just yourself.
solo
And I've been having to do
casting
that.
is the worst. Now,
It's-
of course,
I'm having
you
more
have been
experience
doing a
with it.
great. You've been doing a great job with it.
I
Hines
appreciate
did a very good job with it last time on DCA. He, had a little bit of rant, but it was a rant that needed to be had. So, you
That's
guys,
up in my coming up on my podcast list.
it's
so.
a good one. So
Okay.
definitely you'll enjoy it for sure. But of course, we do have other shows because, of course, everybody's hanging up on me with
I
the
was
whole thing.
hoping-
No, because everybody has been judging me for the way I do these intros. So, of course, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the shows that are not on a bi-weekly schedule, that being DC Alliance, Superhero Discussions, Star Wars Alliance, of course, this show, and Marvel Alliance. Now, Star Wars, Marvel, and DC all have their own separate feeds, so you can double check with your podcast feeds and check those out on your own. Now, speaking of the separate podcast feed, Joe, you're going to be the first to hear what we have in store for Star Wars Alliance. Now, guys, the really cool thing, I'm going to do the Patreon stuff. Yes, yes, yes. But since we're talking about the solo feeds, I want to go ahead and tell you guys right now, you need to write a review for Star Wars Alliance. And I'll tell you why. We have graciously been given the opportunity to have a giveaway for you guys. Now, of course, this does come from our good friends over at Organic Price Books. So remember, guys, they are the sponsor of Marvel Alliance. You need to use the code MarvelGUA to get $2 off of every single purchase that you make. You can have that code multiple times. Every single time that you purchase something, Marvel GUA, you'll get $2 off every single time. So,
Another good thing about organic price books is that if there's something that you're looking for they don't have, just go ahead and write JP, email them, and ask them about it. That's how I got Paper Girls. That's how I got. There was another book they had that I wasn't on there, but I think Chris actually sent
nope.
something his way, and it was up on the website like within the day. So
Yeah.
like just write to them. They will, if they can't get it, they're gonna do their best to.
Yeah, and they have excellent customer service. I
Yes,
will tell you that Joe and Chris have gotten me more into the collected versions of everything. So I'm more into the omnibuses, the collected editions, and everything else.
most stuff you see back here is probably gonna go away
Exactly.
because
Here on our
they're
YouTube
collected.
channel, you guys can see Joe's excellent library that he has. Now, the announcement is, of course, Star Wars Legends The Old Republic Omnibus is what we are giving away to you guys. Now, this will go on through the entire running of the first season of the Book of Boba Fett. We don't know if this is necessarily a multi-season show. Maybe it's just a one-off. We don't know. We'll see what happens with this series. But for all US residents, you guys write us a review and you guys will be entered to win a chance to get this Star Wars Legends The Old Republic. And we don't want to forget our international listeners. So we have also been graciously offered a $100 gift card to all of our international listeners who want to join into that raffle as well. Of
Pretty
course,
awesome.
we will choose the winner after the final episode of this season. So good luck to all of you guys. It's going to be very, very fun. Remember, guys, Organic Price Books is it's one of the greatest places that I go every single time my paycheck comes in, just to double check on some things. I'm
Hmm.
looking, making some pre-orders. It's great. I love supporting. Of course, they are locally here in Texas, but they are amazing. They keep your books safe. When I ordered right now, I am packing for my inevitable move within the next month. But with my Invincible collected editions, they had those wrapped, shrink wrapped, everything. It looked so good. And they know how to protect your books.
Yes, I do.
You're not gonna get a squash box. You're not gonna get like all of these things that you would normally see from FedEx, UPS, Amazon, whatever. These guys know that these books are special to you. So go check them out. Remember, Marvel GUA for that code.
I think the last thing I ordered from them was like 4 books that came to me, and they were wrapped in bubble wrap this way, and then wrapped in bubble wrap this way. The box was like longer than it should have been. I'm like, what the heck did I order? I don't remember what the heck I ordered.
But
But it
because
was
of that,
safe.
those boxes and that bubble wrap I have used to
Oh,
wrap
dude,
up my books for when I move next month.
I used all that
So
stuff for Christmas wrapping.
now, guys, of course, we do have a Patreon. $1 tier is a thank you to us. A $5 tier, of course, gives you all of the exclusive content as well as the early shows without any ads. Now, this show is going to have ads because we are ad supported. We do not choose the ads. We don't choose how many times they repeat themselves if they do. And we do not choose how loud they are. So we will give you a 3 count so that way you can lower your volume just in case. But yeah, that is everything I do believe. Now, let's go ahead and jump into the first bit of news here. So the first bit of news that we got this week was a little bit of Lucasfilm Animation. Now, I didn't even know this. So it says here Lucasfilm enlists Monsters at Work and the Rocketeer Animation Studio for unannounced CGI series. Now, this is Icon Creative Studios. They are responsible for things like Elena of Avalar, The Rocketeer, Monsters at Work, the new Disney Plus series, of course. And it says high-end CG animation. These are credited due to the fact that there is screenshots of, I believe it is, what is LinkedIn? That's what it is. LinkedIn. Some people have profiles, and of course, they put up what they are about to be working on. And some of these screenshots, of course, lead up to the idea that these guys are going to be working with Lucasfilm Animation. Now, the interesting thing that is kind of up your alley, Joe, is that these guys are actually working on a Transformers series. Like, they're going to be releasing a Transformers series. Let me actually.
That in the article.
So it says here, Icon is no stranger to working with action in their animation series, and their upcoming Transformers cartoon should likely prove that they could cut the muster for working with the kind of kinetic action that we associate with the galaxy far, far away.
Okay.
So,
I mean, after the last Transformers thing on Netflix, which was good. Don't get me wrong. I would like to see maybe a more less CGI heavy. Like you can't get away from that. This all cartoons are kind of going to CGI, but like something a little more maybe with actual humans.
Well, see, I will say this. There's a different type of CGI. So if you look at what we have seen in the Netflix versions of Transformers, which was, help me out, Cybertron,
it was
Beast Wars, and what was the middle one? Earthrealm?
It was Earthrise.
Earthrise, sorry, yeah.
It was the War for Cybertron. You know what?
It's been a while. It's been a while. It's been a couple months. So you have that kind of CGI that is heavily like it's supposed to look kind of computerized just because
those were fine. The list that this company's working on, the Monsters at Work, the Rocketeer, which I totally forgot that there was an animated Rocketeer thing.
Yeah, for Disney Junior. Yeah,
exactly. Totally forgot about that. And then whatever the third one was, which I know
it is Elena of Avalar. So for me, go ahead.
Well, I know that because I think Disney Channel was always on months ago when I always knew it. On TV, I mean cable. That has more of a lighter, rounded animation style. All three of those projects do. So I could see this being a more, I don't want to say lighter animation, Transformers wise, but I'm thinking more of Star Wars at the moment. I think in the article it says something about maybe this is the unannounced Tales of the Jedi,
which we have been seeing screenshots of that being listed along with all of the other shows that we are expected to see in 2022. And for me, I was just like, it's become a meme now. It's like, hey, look, something else that could have been shown at Disney Plus Day.
But no, I'd be okay with that because we're not my biggest gripe anymore with Star Wars television properties or even movie properties is that they keep tying into the Skywalkers. Get away from Skywalkers. Tales of the Jedi. You don't have a Skywalker in it? Cool. I'm there. Don't get me wrong. I love the Skywalker saga. Well, let's leave it at those 9 films. You don't have to bring in... You don't have to throw a Skywalker into The Mandalorian. It makes sense story-wise, sure. But it doesn't need to be there.
And I totally agree with you. Of course, any of our listeners know that me and Katie have said this multiple times, that they need to veer away from the Skywalker saga just because it's a sandbox that we already know and love.
Correct.
And yes, I do appreciate The Mandalorian. I appreciate what they're doing with the Book of Boba Fett. I appreciate what's going to be coming with, of course, Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, you know?
So with like Rogue One, with Solo, with Book of Boba, and the Mandalorian up until the season finale of season 2, it didn't involve a Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes, you had Darth Vader in Rogue
Rogue
One, you
One, yeah.
had Darth Maul in Solo, but like you don't have to have a Skywalker for it to be good, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that the best move Star Wars can do to, of course, bring in new fans, to broaden their quote unquote legends that they can bring up into continuity, which every single Star Wars reader fan wants,
Yeah.
is to kind of broaden what they already have. So instead of sticking with episode 1 to episode 9, move past that, move before that, play around. You have an entire galaxy. And I understand, the big trope of Star Wars is that we always play with the same characters, is that we kind of play with the same planets. You don't have to.
Yeah, it's a galaxy far, far away, but they stick with the same 20 people.
Yeah. It's kind of ridiculous. I would love for them to play around with it. We got a little glimpse of what could be with, of course, Star Wars Visions, which does remind me of my question. Joe got a Christmas gift this year that of a book that we have reviewed on this show, Star Wars Ronin. Joe, do you currently have plans on when you might be able to start that book?
Let's see, 2022 is 365 days, right? It'll be somewhere in there.
All I say is I know that you are a fan of Star Wars reading, and you are familiar with it. Throw everything that you know about Star Wars away.
Good. And I like that. That's one of the things why I like the Darth Bane trilogy.
Yeah.
Because it had nothing to do with any preset characters. You're learning about the Sith, you're learning about the Jedi, and you're learning about outside of Revan and I can't remember the other guy.
Malik?
Darth Revan and Darth what? Malik. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Outside of those two, which they barely touch on them in the Darth Bane trilogy, it's all great. Like, it's all just new stuff, and I love that. So I will read Ronin. I don't know when, but I will read it.
It's a very good read. I know that you also listen to Audible stuff. The Audible for it is very, very fun. Plays very well alongside the book, I will say. So, just looking forward to your thoughts on that. Now,
back to get in the year.
Back to this stuff with the animation. We have seen what we can get with Visions.
Yes.
I do hope that this Tales of the Jedi or whatever it was called, right? Is that what it was called?
Yeah, Tales of the Jedi is what they were maybe thinking.
It may be the working title. We don't know. Of course, this article does bring up we haven't heard an update since the Investors Day announcement of a droid story,
Yeah, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, and that may also be what this is. We have no clue. I just hope that we get something soon.
Yeah.
We have been clamoring on about the fact that, we have a whole lot of Star Wars news without any Star Wars news,
Yeah.
It's something that we have been hurting for, although it sounds, everybody says, 2022 is going to be the most stacked Star Wars year since blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, yes, but we don't have any news on it. We don't know what we're looking forward to. Yes, I can.
We don't even have a date for Kenobi yet, do we?
No, we do not. We don't have solid dates for anything Star Wars related.
Cool. Fun.
Yeah. The only thing, and I wouldn't even say solid dates because the High Republic stuff keeps getting delayed and changing dates for their books.
Yeah.
So, who knows? So, With that, guys, we'll go ahead and take our very first ad break. We will then talk spoiler-free thoughts on the Book of Boba Fett, and then we will go into spoilers. So let's go ahead and give you that 3 count, and we will be right back. Ready? 3, 2, 1. We will be right back. And we are back. So, Joe, the Book of Boba Fett, spoiler free thoughts on this. What'd you think?
So I went into it with middle to high. No, I don't want to say high. About medium ish expectations. It's Boba Fett. I would never say I was ever a big Boba Fett fan. He was one of those characters where I'm like, okay, cool. He's got connections to obviously Return of the Jedi, which is one of my favorite Star Wars. He's got connections to, and I know I was complaining about just a little bit ago about Skywalkers. He's got a connection to the Skywalkers because of Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. And then even rewind to the Clone War, Attack of the Clones and Clone Wars, and we start to learn a little bit more about him. And so seeing this episode and, after seeing him in Mandalorian have his comeback, which was an amazing comeback. It was pretty awesome. And I remember everybody being all so happy. Oh my God, it's Boba Fett, it's Boba Fett. This first episode, to me, I'm glad I had middle expectations. It was not a bad episode. I enjoyed what I watched. It didn't wow me like the first episode of Mandalorian did.
I will agree with those thoughts. I think it was Snell in our GUA chat that asked us, "Hey, what is the hype level for all of
I
us
think
in
I
the
put like a
GUA?"
7. I said a 7.
I said about a 7.5, and I agree with you in the sense of, like, for me, I was never a big Boba Fett fan. I'm not gonna lie and say, like, oh, he's my favorite character and
Yeah.
things like that. He was a character in Star Wars that
He was
I know
cool character. Sure.
he
was very
looked cool.
mysterious. Yeah.
For me, I always like, okay, he looks cool. Let's see what happens to him now in this Book of Boba Fett. Yes, he was shown to be a badass in The Mandalorian, killing all of those stormtroopers. But let's see what he can actually do as this new quote unquote crime lord of him taking over Jabba's, palace and everything else. So I will say that my expectations were at a 7.5 and they were met. I think that there was probably one scene in here that was like, wow, that was pretty cool. But other than that, I mean, it was kind of what I had already expected. Now, I will go into spoiler thoughts after this, but I just want to say hashtag Clay told you so. And I will talk to you guys about that right after we, of course, go into spoiler thoughts. Now, 3, 2, 1, spoiler thoughts. Before we talk about anything, I actually have a special guest here that is going to talk about the first 4 minutes of the actual episode. And I just have to say bravo to him. He actually predicted the entire opening of this series. So let's go ahead and listen
Hand
here.
down from the twin sons of Tatooine, we are now close on the mouth of the Sarlacc pit. After a beat, the gloved Mandalorian armor gauntlet of Boba Fett grabs
Almost
onto
exactly,
the sand outside
man.
the Sarlacc pit, and the feared bounty
What's
hunter
this from?
throws himself from
This
the maw
is from
of
Parks and
the
Rec.
Sand beast.
This is exactly.
And we realize that he survived his fall during the battle at Jabba's palace ship. Pan down from the
Well done.
Of course, that is Patton Oswalt. He did predict that it's just this small episode. It's an episode that I still haven't seen yet. Abby is showing me that show. She loves the show. She talked me into finally watching The Office about 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago now. Holy crap.
I still haven't watched The Office or Parks and Rec.
And then this showed up, and I was just like, that is entirely the first 4 minutes Hashtag Clay told you so. If you go back a couple episodes on the Geekverse podcast, of course, that gang over there was talking about predictions for the book of Boba Fett. And if we were ever going to get this story about how he escaped the Starlight Pit, I said in the comments, oh, you just do it on the very first episode. One and done. And they didn't like show him in the Snarlack pit and then like cut away. And no, it did the entire thing, showed him how exactly he escaped and everything.
Yep.
So I think this
Shawshank
is
out of it.
yeah. I think this is actually pretty cool. In all honesty, S-Bub says here, the extended version of that clip is amazing. It's like an 8-minute rant that leads to a Star Wars and Avengers crossover.
I meant to go find that.
That's got to be funny. I'm probably going to look that up right after this. But yeah, man, let's go ahead and we will stick with what happens after that, which is just the modern stuff. We'll talk about the modern stuff right now, and then we will talk about that of
The flashbacks.
flashback. So, of course, he wakes up from this is a dream that he is having of his time with the Tusken
flashbacks,
Raiders or the flashbacks. But he is in a bantha tank, and he gets woken up, of course, by Finnick. And this is where we start with the what is it? The
Tributes.
The tributes, the offerings.
Yep.
I really dug this.
It was pretty cool. I did like that.
So people were talking about the droid being an Easter egg. I have no clue who that is.
Must be from a game. I didn't have any idea either.
Yeah, I have no idea who it is. But there
I
does
did
come
know
a point.
the Trandoshan was Robert Rodriguez.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
cool.
awesome. Now, I will say the Trandoshan, instead of your stereotypical puppet, was what looked like CGI.
No,
Like
I'm pretty sure it was probably
it was probably a common.
in a body like suit.
Really? Now, am I thinking about Trandoshans are like the lizard people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't make
Pretty
me
sure that was
question my Star Wars trivia here.
I'm not.
So-
I'm agreeing with it. I'm pretty sure that was him in costume, in makeup. It wouldn't be the first time a director's gone in makeup.
So I'm looking at it now. It does look a little bit CGI-ish. Like in the sense of like when he talks, he is like the eyes are blinking and just the way the mouth is moving. Now it could totally be a puppet, but that's the kind of like vibe that I got here.
Okay.
It looks really good. Either way.
Yeah, that part looks good. That looks good. What was it? The guy before him. Actually, the fact that it was Doc. Can't remember his full name. Trandoshan had a Wookiee pelt. That was kind of fun.
Yeah.
That was the guy before him. The Aqualash.
I can't remember his name, but he had, of course, all the credits in his helmet.
And they had
But
no idea what the heck he was saying.
They were like, did you catch any of that? And they're like, something about friendship. But then, of course, what comes after the Trandoshan is the mayor's like right hand, basically.
Yep.
And he comes in, and he's like, oh well, we are here to grant you our
welcome, our heartfelt welcome.
our heartfelt welcome. And they're like, so you don't have anything? We have our heartfelt welcome. But I will ask you in regards of our tribute. And Boba was like, I don't get it. What's
I
going
thought I was a
on
crime
here?
lord. No, the mayor's a freaking crime lord. I mean, come on, the mayor's gonna be a bad guy. That's gonna be the bad guy of this show. I'm calling it right now.
I'm looking forward to seeing what this all entails. Now, I will say
Yeah, it's a corrupt government. What do you expect?
the reports said that everything that we were seeing in the TV spots, in the trailers and whatnot, was like the first 5 minutes of the show, which now is a lie.
Maybe it's the first
Because
5 minutes of each episode.
I think of each episode. And the reason why I say that is there was a scene that is still shown in some of these TV spots of Fett and Finnick in like a table setting eating amongst
Yes.
other
the crime
individuals.
bosses.
Exactly. We didn't get that here.
Nope.
So I do think that we will be getting that possibly next episode.
If latest third episode.
Yeah. But we get the I don't understand that, and then Finnick is like, oh well, if you were to treat Jabba this way, you would have been dead already. And he's like, oh well, I don't mean to step on apologies here. I don't mean to step on any toes, but just so you know, the mayor's probably gonna come back with somebody else. Like basically is what his wording is. Now I do appreciate what happens immediately after. Jabba's 2 guards that come back for this is I can't remember the race's name. Do you happen?
Gamorreans.
Yes, the Gamorreans.
Gamorrean
They are like, oh well, as a tribute, they are gonna surrender their lives, basically.
Oh no, it wasn't a tribute. It was they were captured.
Yeah, they were captured
alive, and so the robot B8 correct 8D8
8D8 yes.
I had to remember it. Whatever, not gonna go there. He was like, yeah, so you can use these guys to torture, and it will basically get everybody else in line. And Boba's like, no, I'm not.
I don't torture people. Is what he essentially says. And the droid even says, I do have to say, if you don't torture these guys, it's going to show like weakness.
Yep.
And
I
he's
think this is where Boba says that, I want to rule from a place of respect, not fear.
yeah.
Which,
and he does say, he says, you respect Jabba, will you respect me and draw your loyalty to me? And that's when they bow down. And that's when the very next scene that you see is them all walking out of Jabba's palace. Yeah. I do like this as well, because this is when Finnick brings up like the litter. Oh, they should be carrying you right now. Jabba did this, his entire rule and everything else. And Bubba was like, I can walk on my own 2 damn feet. I'm not going to be lugged around. And, I'm going to show my strength by standing firm.
I will say this is a good sign of Jango's teachings to Boba. Like this is, and even him growing up in the bounty hunters guild of sorts, of just like, look, you want something done, you do it yourself. Yes, there's always going to be somebody, paying the credits and pulling the strings, and that's fine. But you got to show that you can do this. Otherwise, and again, he's coming from a different background than a crime boss, than a like Jabba was, of I do something, I'm going to do it myself, and people are going to respect me for doing it, and they're going to join me that way. Versus Jabba, who was like, oh, I'm powerful enough, go kill that guy.
Yeah.
You don't kill that guy, I'm going to kill you.
I do like the kind of back and forth that Boba and Finnick are having.
Yes.
Now, I've been seeing a lot of conversations on Twitter that the relationship between Boba and Finnick will possibly fray throughout the series.
Ooh.
Now, there is something that kind of supports that in this episode, and I want to get your thoughts on it. But she does say, like, it would go a lot smoother if you accept their ways, and that kind of bites her in the ass as soon as they go into the cantina, which
with the old Max Rebo band.
We get the lovely Jennifer Beals as the Twi'lek that owns the business, of course.
Well,
But before
runs the
she
business.
runs the business, before she comes in, of course, we do see the two other Twi'leks that offered to clean the two helmets. Finnick is immediately no, like buzz off, like we are higher than you, kind of, because we all know Twi'leks are basically slaves.
In
They
this
are
universe,
slaves
yes. Yeah.
in the Star Wars universe, and Boba is basically like, no, no, no. Here's my helmet. You can take hers as well. Just go clean them. And that's when, of course, Beale's character comes in. She's like, oh, how can I help you guys? And this is where, Boba infers that he is the new crime lord and everything else. That he will make sure that this place of business runs smoothly from here on out.
And she even mentions like, "Oh, I apologies, I didn't see your litter.
And that's when he makes the statement, oh, I
I walk here on my own feet."
I intend to rule on my own 2 feet.
Yeah.
Is basically what he says, and that I love that. I love that he is not necessarily, and we knew this from the way the trailers were portraying it, that Boba is not just going to be like, oh, what did Jabba do? Like how am I supposed to do this? Because if he were to do that, it would show that he has no idea what the fuck he's doing,
Correct. Which
And-
again falls back on his teachings that Django taught him,
Mm-hmm.
and heck, even Cad Bane and the rest of the bounty hunters taught him.
Yeah, exactly. So that ends with the Twi'leks coming in and giving them the helmets, and that's when Finnick is like, "Oh, yours looks shinier than mine." And you look down and you see all the credits. I really dug that. I thought that was really really
It
cool.
was pretty fun.
But that's when we see when they walk out of the establishment, when the assassins, what I would assume are assassins,
Yeah.
barge Boba and Finnick, and
Which my first thought, so they get surrounded with these pretty wicked like shields that these guys have, which I remember thinking about something like this way back when I was like a teenager. So a little jealous that they got to it first, I guess.
they
Anyway.
look like ray shields, which
Well,
is
they are
really
ray
really,
shields.
which is
Like,
really really
on,
cool.
like wristband ray shields, which is pretty
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, and
but
I just noticed because I'm playing it now. I didn't notice that on my first two watches. You see individuals grab the credits from their helmets.
Yeah, the Jawas and everybody else that are, because the helmets went flying.
Yeah.
So it's just sitting there in the street. But my first thought, first time watching this, and they get surrounded, I'm like, where the heck are the Gamorrean guards? So,
But they
as
do come
much-
in.
They do. As much as they are giving their life to Boba now, I think they were just kind of going to see what happened at first.
Yeah,
And that's
probably.
They may not have been. I don't know. That's just my, again, initial first thoughts. But that was interesting.
And you can kind of headcanon the fact that, like, because Boba is more, what would I would
Lax?
say? No. I would say that he is more capable than Jabba was
Oh, gotcha.
physically. That
Yeah.
he probably is like, hey, you don't have to stand so close to me. I can fend for myself, but just know you are still employed by me.
I don't
You
know.
could probably.
It took him a long
It
while.
did
before
take
they
him a
came
while.
back up.
It did take him a while.
He shot
But
that rocket off and just
they-
knocked them on their ass.
Yeah, they end up getting knocked down. I think two or
Get back
three
up
of
again.
them.
They're
Three
back
of them.
down.
Three of them get away.
I
But
will
not.
say this. I will say this before we get to them running off. Boba was a badass when he grabbed the electro blade sword, whatever, or staff, whatever. Just grabbed it
Yeah.
in his hand, and he's getting electrocuted, and then he just pummels that guy.
Yeah,
I like that so much.
I really dug this fight scene. The choreography was a little slow, but it did look good. I will admit, I did love all of this choreography. I love the fact when they start to run off,
Of course.
Boba is just like, yeah, no, you're not getting away from me. Shoots
Oh, that
one with
guy.
a rocket and like completely incinerates
Oh
him.
God, yeah.
Finnick is running after the other two, and he says, wait, Finnick, alive. And so she runs off. This is where I say she kind of defied him.
I disagree. I
Really?
disagree because all he said was alive. He didn't say how many.
That's a technicality. You can't necessarily.
Definitely, no, like as soon as there was that she squared off with them after the chase and caught up with them, knocked them both down for a hot second. As soon as she had the blade and she's got it against one guy, she's looking at the other. I'm like, oh, he's gonna kick her off, or she's gonna kick him off, and she does. I'm like, yeah, you
Well,
only need one alive.
she does, but like I that whole technicality thing, I could see that playing out in the next episode. Like I said alive, where's the other one? And she'd be like, "Oh, you only need to question one," you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Okay.
I could see that playing out, but it's still technically, there's still it's a technical
Yes,
it's a technicality, but it still defies him. So I do
Okay,
think
okay.
that there might be something there. So with that, we now see Boba tell his guards, "Hey, put me back in the Bacta tank." And this is where we go off into the flashback. And that is basically all we see of current time.
Yep.
So let's go back into the past. We see the Jawas are the ones to take off all of the armor. We know this because of what we saw in Mandalorian.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are the ones that took it. And of course, we see all that play out in the second season of Mandalorian. Now, the Tusken Raiders find him later, and they wake him up, they tie him up, and they take him back to their camp. This is where we see the Rodian also tied up with him. And dude, that whole scene where he's like trying to break free, and then I don't know the name of the creature that the Tusken Raiders have that are basically the guard dogs.
Yeah, I knew it. They said it a few times. Well, I always watch the subtitles, and it would say the creature's name like growling.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can't. God, now I can't remember what it was. Yeah. No, I don't.
I need to definitely look at that next time I watch it. But like it had its eyes closed and then it had its eyes open, and I was like, oh shit, what's gonna fucking go down? Like it was so good. And the fact that Boba doesn't even bat an eye. Like, yes, he stops.
Well, like he stares at him, stares him down.
And you see the Rodian like looking at the creature, looking at Boba, looking at the creature, looking at Boba, and that's when he finally puts the creature into a headlock, knocks him out temporarily, and he's basically trying to break free and everything. He even asks the Rodian, "Hey, do you want me to break your cuffs? Do you want me to break you free?" Mm-hmm. And the Rodian's just like, "Hey, this dude, this," and I'm like, "Why?"
That creature's called a massive.
Massive. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like, why? Like, why do you think the Rodian decided to yell out? Like, I don't understand it.
The Rodians are bitches. Have you ever met Greedo? Come on.
True. I mean, every Rodian that you've met
in
in Legends and everything, they kind of are snitches and all sorts of stuff. So
I think it was one of those things where he was more concerned with himself, and it would have been one of those things that had he not said something, the Tusken Raiders would have probably like beat him up or beat him close to death. So he was definitely just looking out for number one, like plain and simple. Because later on, when both of them are digging for water, the little water things, he's ignoring Boba every time he says anything until he mentions, "Oh, I could just choke you with this chain and let the guard dog eat your leg."
And that's like, when he says, he's like, "Oh, now you understand me, huh?" Yeah. Like I really dug that. I think it was. I know a lot of people don't like him, but he is a part of the Geek Worldwide. He does break scoops and whatnot. But Casey Walsh said it today. He's like, "I never knew the hunt for water could be so interesting," because that's essentially what happens. Now, is it so interesting? Not necessarily, but it is entertaining at points. We do get a small glimpse at possible antagonists for the flashbacks? Because I do want to ask, do you think that we will have flashbacks every single episode?
So I asked Emily about this. Ooh, sorry, something popped up on my thing. Asked Emily about this when we were watching it, and I'm thinking we're gonna have flashbacks for about. There's 7 episodes in the season. I'm gonna say 5 to 6 episodes are gonna be flashbacks, which is
5
kind
episodes
of
out of
annoying.
the 6?
No, five to 6 out of the 7.
This is
There's
7 episodes? I thought it was
7
6.
episodes. Nope, 7
Okay,
episodes.
okay, okay.
So there's gonna be 5 to 6 out of the 7 episodes are gonna have flashbacks, which. God, I hope not. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I get what they're trying to prove. I guarantee this whole flashback thing will be showing Boba seeing the all of Tatooine and being in distress and gangs running wild. And so now that he is the crime boss, he is going to try and actually like bring everything under a swifter, more more at peace rule, to where no these gangs aren't going to the moisture farmers and taking their water. So I think it's gonna be something like that where he saw the bad, he's gonna stop that from happening. Which fine, but that's what if that's the whole point of the flashbacks. Like we are okay, we got the flashback of him escaping. Cool. We got the flashback of him joining the Tusken Raiders. All right, now we literally are caught up to where we see him at in Mandalorian. We don't need flashbacks anymore, but I know we're gonna get it.
Yeah. I can totally see that happening. I I dug, pun intended, for the most part, a lot of this flashback. I don't necessarily need the youngling Tusken Raider to live, because for me, this is just another type of connection that you get with the Mandalorian. With Din Djarin and Grogu, now with Boba and this Tusken Raider.
Yeah.
So I can see why it would happen to get that connection for the audience, but I kind of of course, you have to say, oh, well, what if the Tusken Raider didn't return? Then it would just be a chase for Boba to find civilization, get off the planet, blah, blah, blah. And we know that's not what happens because of everything that's been we
Yeah.
have known from The Mandalorian. So we'll see how that goes. But basically, what ends up happening is we see a potential future protagonist, or not protagonist, sorry, antagonist,
Antagonist.
with this gang that is beating up random civilians at their homes. The symbol that they spray painted, or whatever you call
The
it,
JLo symbol?
I was like, JL, Justice League, JLo, Jennifer Lopez.
Jennifer Lopez. Yeah, I don't know what group that is. I
It
can't
looks
off the top of my head,
familiar, but I
think of it.
can't necessarily give you a name to it.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll bring it up in an episode. I guarantee it
for sure.
But just right now, can't think of it.
Yeah. So we saw that, and then of course that's when we got the whole dig scene. We get Boba and this. Oh my gosh, I forgot the race.
Rodian.
Rodian. I was gonna say
Rodian
Rodian. Rodian. But they dig. They find a couple things. The whole thing is that Boba takes a drink before he's supposed to,
Yep.
and the Tusken Raider gives it to the guard dog, and then we see. Oh shoot! I am trying to bring back all sorts of pop culture references here.
See if you get it right. I sent it to you. See if you get it right.
We see freaking. Oh shoot!
The Kraken from Clash of the Titans.
No, not him. We get freaking Goru. Goro from Mortal Kombat.
Nah, it's
Yeah.
Kraken.
No, it's Goro.
No, it's Kraken. Dude, they.
I mean,
That
yes,
had
yes. If
Ray
you look at
Harryhausen
the
vibes so hardcore. Like
yes,
that's
if you look at the if
this
you
was
look at the
one scene I
picture that
loved.
Joe actually showed here, I will actually put it up here on the YouTube for you guys. This is definitely the exact same
It's the
monster.
Kraken. It's the Kraken. The sand creature in this episode definitely had, Ray Harryhausen sculpture vibes, which
Yes.
is what I really liked. Which is why I like this scene. But no, he definitely looked like the Kraken. I
Yeah.
will give you Goro with the forearms. I get it. It's the Kraken. Come on.
But this again is just another scene to show you, oh, let's show you how badass Boba Fett is. We know how badass he is.
Mm-hmm.
We
Well,
don't.
we do find out that the only way to kill anybody on Tatooine is by choking them to death with a chain.
First Jabba, now this. I understand the sentiment because people will say, "Oh, well, we never got to see how badass Boba really was in the original trilogy."
Go watch
Like,
Clone Wars.
yeah,
He was badass as a kid.
yeah, he was. And I understand that we're gonna see a lot of these scenes probably in the flashbacks. Of course, this does give them, meaning the Tusken Raiders, some trust with Boba. At the very end, we see the leader of the Tusken Raiders hand him the cactus full of water. And that is the end of the episode.
Yep.
That is literally it. And honestly, that is the end of the episode. Like that, I don't know what else we could really talk about. Like other than like, what do we expect now? We have been saying this on the GUA chat. I have seen more and more people talk about it on comicbook.com and just Twitter in general. I think that Crimson Dawn and Emilia Clarke's character from Solo, Kira, are going to show up in here.
The only I think Snell brought it up. Like, what's the year difference?
Yeah.
And there is a good 40 years.
Yeah.
So she would definitely have to be a lot older, which is fine.
She would
lasts
be
out.
she would be like in her 60s, I think.
Yeah. Which again, totally like how old was Jabba? Jabba was a couple hundred, 70, 80 years old, if not older. So
Well, no, you have to also think about like the I guess the Star Wars healthcare, bank to tanks and what they can do and like all sorts of stuff. Now, I'm not going to say they can. I'm not saying
from aging.
I was going to say they're not going to stop you from aging, but I do genuinely think that you age up Emilia Clarke, she doesn't look that much different.
No,
In all
no,
honesty,
no.
she
I
just
would
has
love-
one of those faces that is probably going to stay the same throughout her entire adulthood.
Yeah, I would love for her to show up. I would love for Kira to come back. I would even if I think I brought this up and in the chat, just a name drop. Don't even have to show her. Just drop a name like Kira from the Black Sun. Just because we know Maul was in charge of it until his death, of course, or until his exile.
Yeah.
Because then everything went, sideways for him for some time. So I don't know. We'll see.
We will see. Of course, next episode does drop next Wednesday. We, of course, will cover it. I don't know if Katie will be back by then. We will see. But, of course, we will always be able to find somebody. Or I have always had a history with solo casting. So if I have to run this ship by myself for some time, I will. Now,
The only reason I'm here today is because I'm off tomorrow. So
yeah. So, of course, anybody from the GUA is welcome to talk about the show with us.
unless we do a 7 o'clock show. Anyway,
Well, that's usually our time. We did a special one because of the unexpectedness of what was all going on. But our usual show is, of course, at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we will see. But with that, guys, thank you so much for lasting this long. Remember, guys, review. Review the solo feed of this show. You will be entered to win that omnibus for the Old Republic. International listeners, of course, you will win your chance for a $100 gift card to Organic Price Books. I tell you, it is worth it.
Yes.
So, write those reviews. At the end of the 7th episode, we will collect all those names, and then the episode after that, we will, of course, announce our winner. So, Joe, where can they find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at underscore actually underscore. You can find my show, A Walk Through the Multiverse, on Twitter at Walk the Verse. And you can also find my other show, Comic Book Rundown, on Twitter at Comic Rundown and on Instagram at Comic Book Rundown.
And of course, you can always find me at FanboyClay on Twitter. You can go into the bio and look at the link to all of the shows that I host, that including DC Alliance, Batman News Weekly, Comic Book Legion podcast, Weird Science Marvel podcast, Ranger Alliance, and of course this show, Star Wars Alliance, which you can follow on Twitter. It's Star Wars without the A. That is very important. And with that, guys, thank you so much for being here, lasting this long. This is under an hour. This is actually the shortest episode that me and Joe have ever recorded. I do believe we did it. Now, thank you. Have a good evening, morning, or good night, whatever day or time you may be watching. And remember, may the Force be with you.
When did we turn to World's Finest True Believers?